Hello everybody and welcome back to another Minecraft myth busting episode. It has certainly been a long time since we've done one of these. I've certainly missed it and I've been waiting for the Minecraft 1.8 update to come out. At the moment the pre-release has been released, which is pretty much the final version of the game, so I thought it was time to get back into our myth busting. Now with this episode we're going to start off like we normally do with a new update, and that is just to test out all of the new blocks that have been added and find out if mobs can spawn on them. At the moment we're in peaceful, we're here in the testing facility. You can see we can turn on the lights and see all of our spawn pads. We've also replaced the glass with barrier blocks, which makes for much better viewing. But anyway, let's take a look at the new blocks that have been added in 1.8, because there are quite a few. Some of these it's pretty obvious if mobs are going to spawn on them or not, but I decided that I want to test all of these anyway. So we have the variants of stone first of all: andesite, diorite and granite. And we have the smoothed variants as well. We are going to be testing all of these. We have the coarse dirt, and the one that I'm most interested in is the slime block. We've also got the sponge and the wet sponge, and then we've got our prismarine blocks and even the sea lantern. Now this thing emits light, which means mobs aren't going to spawn in it, but I think I'm going to test it anyway because I'm just really looking forward to doing this all again. So we've even got the new fences and the fence gates as well. We're going to be testing all of these, including the new sandstone blocks, the iron trapdoors, which we will test both on the bottom and on the top of a block as well. And then we have the banners. Now these are not technically blocks, or maybe they are, I'm not sure, but they're definitely different because you can walk through them. We're going to be testing these as well, and I think these are probably going to work like string, which I'll explain a little bit later in this video. But it is time for us to get right back into it. So we're going to start off with these stone blocks down here. I'm going to replace all of the packed ice from our previous tests with some of these, and we're going to find out if mobs can spawn on them. So we have a lot of blocks to test. It kind of makes sense to do a few of them at the same time. So we are testing all 6 new types of stone blocks here at the same time. I will of course observe and make sure that these mobs are spawning on all of them. But let's just move around for a second, because I am not seeing anything spawning at all, which would be a complete surprise. But of course there they are, it's kicking in now. So I'm going to make sure that I see them spawn on each of the different types, which it looks like it is at the moment. So they definitely spawned on all 6 different types, and the next one we're doing is coarse dirt, which you can craft with dirt and gravel. And if we turn off the lights, we're not going to see any spawns at all, and that's because I've actually installed some difficulty switches over here. So let's turn it to difficulty 3, which is hard, and you can clearly see that mobs are going to be able to spawn on this block. Next up is everyone's new favourite block. It is the transparent green sticky bouncy slime block. Let's turn off the lights and see if mobs are going to spawn on this. I think when they added it in the snapshot they did. There we go, we got some spiders and zombies, and clearly mobs can spawn on the slime block. So this next block is not obsidian, it is actually one that I forgot to mention because I could barely see it. It is the barrier block. I had put it there above the slime block, and you can see that there are barrier blocks down there, although it seems to show these icons within a certain range. Anyway, let's turn off the lights. We are of course in hard, and I don't think we're going to see any mobs spawn here, but I'm going to move around for a while just to make sure. But at first glance it does seem like mobs are not able to spawn on barrier blocks. A couple of minutes of flying around with no spawns is a pretty good sign that they are not going to spawn at all. So for barrier blocks it's a no. And now we're going to be testing the wet sponges on this side of the room and the regular sponges on the other. Let's turn off the lights, and there we go, that was strange. I don't know what happened there, but let's fly around and see if we get any mob spawns. And there you go, we've clearly got mob spawns on both sides of the room, so they can spawn on the sponges and the wet sponges. So, dark prismarine, prismarine bricks and the regular prismarine. Let's turn off the lights and see if we get some mob spawns. I can see some on the far side over there, some in the middle. Are we going to get any on this side over here? Yep, they clearly spawn on all 3 types. So sea lanterns, we knew mobs weren't going to spawn on these because these emit light, but using some MCEdit trickery I've actually imported them without them emitting light, and you can see there are no mobs spawning. In fact, if we move around we're actually going to update this, and then they're going to start emitting light. But there you go, interesting little fact: if they didn't emit light, mobs wouldn't spawn on them anyway. Next up are the new fence posts. We've even got the old ones in there for good measure. If we hit the lights we are probably not going to see any spawns because the old ones didn't have any mobs spawning on them. And if we just fly around for a little bit here and move around, we are getting no mob spawns whatsoever, which I think is going to be the same case for the fence gates. After spending some time flying around, I have seen no spawns for the fence gates or fence posts, which is what you would expect. Next up, it is the iron trapdoors. I am particularly interested in knowing if mobs can spawn on this one. The reason why, because if they can, it is going to make for some interesting mob farms. But over there on that side of the room, we have it where the iron trapdoor is on the lower side of the block. And on this side over here, it's where it's on the upper side of a block, where it's also level with the regular block height, which is why mobs may be able to spawn on it and why we are, of course, doing this testing. But flying around at first glance, it really doesn't look like they're going to be able to spawn on them. So they don't spawn on the other iron trapdoors, but they do spawn when they're on their sides, which is certainly interesting. It's like the mobs are able to spawn on the block down below. And I think what's going on here is that the iron doors are behaving like string, which again I will get to at the end of this video. But this is why we do these tests, because we are always going to learn interesting things, and this was something that I was not expecting. Further testing would show us that mobs can spawn on all three different types of red sandstone. We're now going to do the stairs and the slabs, and for this we're going to test them with a flat surface, with an uneven surface, and the slabs at different heights as well. So after flying around for a while, we are clearly getting spawns on one side of the room, and that is of course the side of the room where the stair blocks have the flat surface on the top. So on this side over here, they're not able to spawn, just like regular stairs. And the half slabs, well, just as you would expect, we are only getting spawns on this side of the room, which is where they are level with the regular block height. Next up are the banners. I am particularly interested in knowing if mobs can spawn on this one, so let's hit the switch and find out. And at first glance, you know, there's lots of banners. It's dark, it's kind of hard to see. Let's use a night vision potion here to have a look. And I can see a spider down the end there. I can see a zombie as well, and some skeletons. I think it's pretty clear that mobs can spawn where these banners are. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, this has something to do with string. Now I think the banners are like string. String is a block that mobs can spawn on, but the algorithm for spawning can't start on. So I think that's what's happening here with the banners. The spawning algorithm is starting on the air blocks above the water, and then it's spawning them in where the banners are. But if you want to know about that in more detail, I have a really cool episode of Myth Busting where I explain that in some detail. It is called Can Mobs Spawn on String? There's a link to it on the screen and in the description box. But that is going to be it for our first episode back with Myth Busting in Minecraft 1.8. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like and help support the series. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things you want to know about Minecraft 1.8. So if you have any ideas for some episodes or myth suggestions, then leave a comment down in the comment box. But that is it for this video. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. It has been a long, long time, hasn't it? I am Steve. Why am I Steve? Oh.